Hello, hello, hello. Happy Sunday morning.
Good morning, beautiful
It is
souls.
so good to see you all. It's so good to be here with you as we take this time and this day to celebrate the magnificence of God in, through, and as us. Let us get started and get right into it. We will begin with prayer. And this morning, our prayer champion, Vanessa, will lead us in prayer.
Good morning, Celebration Spiritual Center. Let's settle in and share a breath. Breathing in and exhaling into the present. I am here now, knowing one Creator, one mind, power, and presence, the very love and light of all life and living, whole, generous, and unlimited. A divine spark flourishing all around like leaves and sun and fresh air and rain, like home and clothing and food and furniture, like every size and shape that creates friends and lovers and family and community and us. Divine expressions of that one that makes no mistakes. That one that activates each breath, each heartbeat, each function moving us through this holy human journey. And because we know that it is acting only ever from and for our good, never against, we say to fear, doubt, and worry, you're not real. You have no useful place here. You're free to go. And in its place, we let the truth in, the good in, the divine law and operation in to do its work and manifest its miracle. From this place, we declare, we are worthy. We are proud of what God has and continues to make of us. We are convinced that love is unrestricted in its expression through each and every body in this world. That every construction and combination of lovingness possible is legitimate in God, is seen, heard, acknowledged, appreciated, and honored. This is the truth that informs and expands our vision, our word, our action, our expectations. What was possible is now certain. What was hoped for is now done, and peace is here. The body is safe and nourished. The mind and heart are receptive. Joyfully, we look forward to this Celebration Spiritual Center service, knowing that these truths and more will come through our pastors in exactly the way we're able to receive them so that we can grow from them and offer it back to the world too. Gratefully, we release this prayer to the only one that can make anything of it, to the law that is exacting and illuminating, to the love that is as true for every person and circumstance coming to mind now that we are knowing it for. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for all the ways in which we recognize this here and now, and for all the ways it will show up even more greatly in ourselves, our relationships, our communities, in our laws, policies, and funding streams. Love is louder, and we are listening as we move forward with faith and focus in the word and power back of. Amen. Ashe. And so it is.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Amen. Ashe.
yes.
And so it is. Well, hello again and good morning, beautiful people. It is so good to see you. It's interesting. One Sunday off feels like it's been several weeks, but we are rested and had a wonderful holiday weekend. I hope that you did as well. We, of course, are happy to be back here with all of you. Now, I know there may just be even one person who is here for the very first time. And we just want to say hello and thank you for joining us today. We know that you could choose to stream any number of services, and we're so happy that you chose to stream and connect in with us here at CSC today. If you are a first-time guest, we'd love to stay in touch with you. And so, of course, you can shout yourself out in the comments. Let us know where you're connecting in from. But also, if you would like to join our mailing list, it's very easy to do. Just text the word welcome to the number you see here on your screen, 347-472-1078. Please just text the word welcome. No additional signatures, hellos, or emojis. If you just text the word welcome, then you will receive a response back with a link. Tap that link and complete the information that you're asked of. It's just your name and your email address, and then you will receive a confirmation. Once you have that confirmation, you are indeed on our mailing list and will receive our weekly emails and receive other information about what's going on at CSC. But we are, again, just happy that you're here, and we pray that you receive exactly what it is that you need today.
Absolutely.
And so in our weekly email, we share various announcements. And so we're going to go through those announcements today, and then we can get into meditation and class. So let's go. Ooh, wrong slide. There we go. Well, the first thing we want to, of course, acknowledge and remind everyone that we as Celebration Spiritual Center, as a spiritual organization, are celebrating Pride Month and celebrating our LGBTQ IA plus family.
As we have always done.
As we have always done since day one. We celebrate you 365, 24/7. But of course, we love Pride Month, and our theme since we started and when we marched in the Pride Parade years ago is that love is louder. Love is louder than all of the fear, all of the hate,
Yes.
all of the foolishness that is unfortunately still happening in this country and in the world. And that will continue to be our message. We see you, we love you, we honor you, and we are so grateful to be able to celebrate with you. We've seen a lot of changes happen even in our time. Since 2013, we marched in the Pride Parade, and it was about marriage equality, right? And then to march the next year because marriage equality had been passed. And so we believe and know that change is possible, and we believe and know that more change is coming. So we love you. We honor you. We are a church that believes in prayer. And so every Wednesday morning, we come together at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for prayer. I share a reading that day, and then one of our prayer champions or myself or PY lead the prayer. That prayer is also recorded, so if for some reason that time doesn't work with your schedule, all good. Just use the playback number, dial in, enter the access code, and wait, and the most recent prayer will play. This is a beautiful lifeline. It's a way to connect in the middle of the week, which I think is awesome. We come together on Sunday, and then we have another way to connect, but also to realign, to remind ourselves. It's amazing what we can forget between Sunday and Wednesday. It's amazing, as Reverend Michael once said to me, it's amazing how human we can start to get when we forget our spiritual nature, and we forget the teachings that we know and love and embrace. And so this is a way to reinforce that.
Absolutely. And anytime, 24/7, you need it multiple times during the week, just call in. It is your connection to this community, and it is your reminder of the truth always, every day of the week.
Absolutely. And so we also recognize that you may have a prayer request. And so if you do, you can send that prayer request to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. That email is received by the two of us. It is also received by all of our prayer champions. And we hold the truth day to day, week to week. We are holding each of you in our hearts and in our minds, knowing that wherever you are, God is, and all is well, or all is becoming well, and all will be well. And so as you send that prayer request, see yourself releasing that burden. We've been talking about casting the burden this month. See yourself letting it go, because it's out of that letting go that you make room to hear what God is saying. We're going to talk about intuition and guidance today, to receive those gentle nudges and to know when to go left, when to go right, and when to be still. Yes, yes. On the third Sunday of this month, as we do every third Sunday here at CSC, it's God Talk Sunday. What is God Talk Sunday? We hold a 1-hour forum where no question is off limits. You can ask any questions, receive guidance, receive insight. There may be something going on in your life. You want to know, how do I apply New Thought teachings? How do I apply metaphysical principle to what's happening? And we're here to support you through that. It's always a wonderful time. Every question is on point. Again, I said no question is off limits. We have talked about everything. Because we are virtual, this will happen via Zoom. And so the Zoom link and password is shared in our weekly email. So for our first time guests, if you're hearing this and this sounds like something that's interesting, make sure that you join our mailing list. You'll see the information again on how to join the mailing list, texting welcome to 347-472-1078. But again, you'll see that later on in the broadcast so that you can join as needed. We look forward to seeing you all on the third Sunday. It's always a good time. Everybody benefits.
Yes, everybody benefits. And you have to be in the room to get your questions answered. And it is not recorded, so it makes it for an opportunity for us to share and support each other, answer questions, and do what we call practical spirituality. Practice it. Apply these teachings to your life. If you cannot apply them to your life, then you need to find other teachings.
As a reminder for those who have been with us over these past few weeks, and if you're here for the first time, we are in the midst of a Truth Sunday Masterclass. We got game. We are studying line by line, chapter by chapter, The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. You'll see here in the post on YouTube or Facebook the link to purchase the book if you'd like to purchase it. Any version is okay. It's in public domain, and so a lot of people have published their versions of it, but the text is unified. We're going to be looking at the intuition and guidance chapter today, but we encourage you to get the book and read along with us week by week. Please do not skip ahead. Stay right where you are, because as you move step by step, you can avoid feeling overwhelmed, and I think sometimes some of your questions will be answered as you move through step by step. Also, if you have questions as you're reading, you can email us at truthsunday@celebrationsc.org. You'll see that information as well as we get into the class materials. But we encourage you to ask questions, and we incorporate those questions each and every Sunday to make sure that we're fully grasping and fully just ingesting and digesting all that Florence Scovel Shinn has to share with us.
Absolutely. And if you haven't had an opportunity to read all the chapters, definitely catch up. Don't speed ahead, but if you are new and it's your first week, all of the previous weeks are on YouTube and Facebook, so you can catch up. The chapters are very short, so take this opportunity to catch up with us as we move forward today in week 8.
Yeah. Now it is time for meditation, and PY will lead us this month. It's a new month, so we have a new theme. I'm excited about it.
Yes, we are here, alive and well, flowing with the rhythm of life. And as we are finishing up this amazing book, The Game of Life, I wanted to pull this month's meditation, this month's affirming thought that we use in meditation from the book. One of my favorites is based on the idea, I cast my burdens on the mind of God and I go free. It's so amazing to realize that we don't have to hold on to the things that we hold on to, that whatever appears to be on our mind, in our consciousness, in our body, in our heart, in our experience, we can release it. There's no burden too big or too small that we cannot give over to the mind of God, so that we free up our energy, that we free up our experience, that we open up our intuitive power. So we are going to cast our burdens on the mind of God and go free today. Free because we were born free. Free because we are meant to be free. Free because that is where the truth is. Free. We cannot carry anything unlike love with us. We can give it over at any time. And so in meditation this month, we're going to give it over, let it go, so that we can be free. I love the idea of meditation and experience being connected, because many times we've read every book there is to read, every bestseller, every Super Soul Sunday guest author. We know their work. But do we know the workings and the experience of God within us? We can have all the information, and we are big on having intellectual stimulation. But we have to have a connection to know that God is within us. We personalize, we internalize, and then we actualize this God. So meditation is an opportunity to experience God alive within us, right where we are. In our experience, we get to know God for ourselves. And so, as we said this month, we're going to cast that burden on the mind of God so that we can go free. We're going to experience the freedom, the connection of God within us. And we're going to do that now. So go ahead. Look around the room, wherever you find yourself. Whether you are seated upright in a chair, on your bed, on a sofa, go ahead and settle in and relax the shoulders over the hips. And that simple act of just releasing the shoulders is a beautiful signal that we're going into the center of our being. Look around the room one last time to know that you're safe to release and to relax. And now, close your eyes. And just notice how good that small movement also feels. Just the closing of the eyelids, the softening of the brow, the freedom that comes along with simple movement, the ease that comes from releasing any worry, doubt, or fear. And so, let's just notice the breath for a few rounds. Notice right where it is, no judgment of the breath. Just notice that it is flowing. And in gratitude, we just acknowledge the breath is moving. Deep or shallow, it is moving. And all is well. And just like the ripples of the ocean, it goes out and it comes in. Just notice that movement mimicked by the waves. That movement, that rhythm, that ease. And now, let's together take conscious control of the breath because it is ours to do so. Let's send that breath, that energy into our low belly. Not high in our chest, but low. Maybe placing the palm onto the low belly. And as we inhale for a count of 4, expand the low belly. Inhale. Hold it there, count of 4. Open the mouth, relax the jaw, and sigh it out. Count of 4. Again, into the low belly. Hold it there. And release, sigh it out. In through the low belly now and up through the rib cage. Nice low count of 4. In. Hold it there. Expanding the front and the sides and the back of the body. Open the mouth and relax the jaw. Sigh it out. Releasing the breath, releasing the burden, opening to more. Again, in through the low belly, up through the rib cage. As we do this, repeating the breath, the expansion, the opening, adjusting our physiology to allow our release. Open the mouth and let it go. Creating that space, beautiful. Inhale into the low belly, now up through the heart chakra, center of the chest, across the chest, across the back, creating a new set point, new reality, holding it there. Open the mouth, relax the jaw, and release. Again, in through the low belly, up through the rib cage, up through the heart. That healing center. Hold it there. Open the mouth, relax the jaw, sigh it out. Beautiful. In through the low belly, up through the heart. This time, at the top, hold there, close the lips. And now exhale through the nose. When we elongate the breath in this fashion, we slow time and space down, the mind down. And let's practice a few rounds of in and out through the nose. Connecting, grounding, feeling God alive in us. Knowing that we are safe and knowing that we give life permission to enter as we cast every burden on the mind of God. A few rounds here. I cast my burdens on the mind of God, and I go free. I cast my burdens on the mind of God, and I go free. I give permission for life to support me so that I can be free. Last round here. And now, let's send this energy into the feet. If you find yourself the toes gripping the earth, the ground, or just feeling a little tight, inhale, raise the heels. Exhale, lower the heels, and release the feet. Feeling the opening and the energy, unobstructed, flowing through the soles of the feet, across the ankles. Relax the ankles. Energy now flows up the shins and calves. Relax the shins and the calves. Whatever you've been carrying, surrender it now and be free. Energy flows across the knees. We bend, we surrender, and we allow. Relax the knees now. Energy flows across the thighs, the hamstrings. Relax the thighs and the hamstrings. And sometimes energy gets stored in the glutes. We relax the glutes now. It's almost as if the lower half of the body can melt into this energy field. Whatever burden we've been carrying, we let it go now. So we relax the hips, the hip sockets. Go ahead and scan the lower half of your body. Cast any burden on the mind of God and allow freedom to circulate in the lower half of your body now. Energy flows from the base of the spine where it has been gathered and makes its way up. And as we feel this Kundalini rise, activating each chakra, we open and permit energy to flow up, 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 and out the crown of our head. No thoughts to burden us, only God to surround and support us. No past to prevent us, only the present to welcome us. As we let go of every burden so that we can be free. We feel our energy above us, and we feel the collective energy of us all. And we welcome it. We permit and allow it to flow back down through the crown, opening and activating our third eye, flowing back down through our throat so that we can speak these words of truth across our shoulders, down our arms, and out our fingertips. You may turn the palms down to ground yourself more, or turn the palms up if you want to receive more. If the palms are up, you notice that slight kiss of a gentle breeze across the palm. You feel the connection as the shoulders relax with each round of breath. And as a completely open channel now, we release every burden. As we prepare for our silent time, go ahead and scan your body. If you've been holding on to last week or last month or 10 years ago or 2 minutes ago, send love there. Allow God to be here so that you can be free. I will monitor the time. And if the mind wanders, it's okay. Bring it back to this thought. I cast my burdens on the mind of God, and I go free. The next time you hear my voice, it will be to signal your return. But for now, swim in the freedom, the ease, the comfort, the joy, and the love of God now. With our eyes still closed, we notice how good it feels to be lighter in our experience, in our mind, in our body. For we were not born to be burdened, we were born to be free. With our eyes still closed, we just notice this time that we've given ourselves of freedom, of ease. And with our eyes still closed, we feel God alive within us, so that we may bring that sensation, that experience of God back to live our daily lives, always connected and never separate. With our eyes still closed, we enjoy the ease and the peace that we've given ourselves. And so as we begin our slow return, our gentle return, our easy return, we notice if the mind has begun to go into the next moment, and we bring it back to the thought, I cast the burden on the mind of God and I go free. For when we are in worry or fear or doubt, we are burdened by thoughts that do not serve us. And so we affirm the truth that we can be free of those burdens, of any unworthiness, of any worry, any doubt, any fear. So let us begin to make our return now with our eyes still closed. And if the palms are turned up, go ahead and turn them down. And notice the feeling of palm on thigh, and maybe begin to rub the palms on the thighs and the knees and the shins, just starting to wake the lower half of the body nice and easy. Gentle movement, gentle connection, no rush. Last time here, just noticing and slowly waking. Stop the movement. Plant the palms. Inhale, draw the shoulders up by the ears. Inhale. And shoulders back, nice gentle releasing of the breath. And down. Again, shoulders in as we draw the breath in and up. And back. Releasing the breath as the shoulders relax down the body. Last time, inhale. Shoulders up and back as we release the breath and the shoulders relax down nice and easy. Just notice how good that feels. Bring palms together at heart center. Lightly touch the thumbs into the sternum. A nice gentle bowing of the head forward. Noticing the breath as it crosses the fingertips. Noticing the cycle of breath that we have now experienced over and over. Signaling our connection and our ease of life. Noticing the slight elongation of the spine all the way up through the neck. And now, slowly flutter the eyes open, taking in a point on the floor in front of you or directly in front of you, whatever feels the most easy, gentle on the eyes and the soul. Inhale, raise the chin and raise the gaze. Release the breath. Namaste.
Beautiful. Namaste. That was relaxing and comforting and refreshing. Thank you, PY.
You're welcome.
Yes, yes. So we are in week 8, and we are again studying the game of life and how to play it. For our masterclass, we got game. I think we're just going to get right into this chapter. I also want to remind everyone that we are accepting questions. So as you're reading, send us an email at truthsunday@celebrationsc.org because no question is silly, and if you don't ask it, then you never know. We're happy to answer any and all questions, right? So let's see. Let's get the book up here. There's the email address. So when you're ready, you can email us. This chapter. I'm excited about this chapter because I think it addresses some things that a lot of us can get tripped up on when it comes to guidance and intuition, and knowing when to take the next step, right? When to go left or right, or as I said earlier, when to be still. And so I think we'll be able to clarify some things as we move through this.
And many times it's time to be still.
Yeah, real talk. All right. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Right? That's a famous scripture. There is nothing too great of accomplishment for the person who knows the power of their word and who follows their intuitive leads. By the word, she starts in action unseen forces and can rebuild her body or remold her affairs. It is therefore of the utmost importance to choose the right words, and the student carefully selects the affirmation she wishes to catapult into the invisible. She knows that God is her supply, and that there is a supply for every demand, and that her spoken word releases this supply. Ask and ye shall receive. We must make the first move. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Okay. So as always, she starts out with like boom, 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 right? With some very powerful things. So that first thing, there is nothing too great of accomplishment for the person who knows the power of their word and follows intuitive leads.
There's a whole bunch in that.
Okay. By the word, we start the action in action unseen forces and can rebuild our body or remold our affairs. So this is important, and you'll see this repeated over in different ways in this chapter, right? The idea of knowing the power of our word, making use of the power of our word, and then following intuitive leads, right? And this is the mental work. This is the mental action that happens, right? What a lot of us are doing many times, we may speak the word, we may affirm something, declare that we are going to manifest this thing, declare that we're going to be this thing, and then we start taking action before we've received intuitive leads. We're generally taking action based on what we've seen, based on what somebody else did.
Or what we've done in the past.
Exactly. And, I'm thinking about weight release now. We could talk about so many other things, but this is why there are almost an infinite number of ways to release weight, right? And so often we get tripped up because we're like, oh, I heard this work for this person, and so we start running over here to this thing. Or I heard work for these people, we run over to this thing. Instead of declaring, I'm releasing 10 pounds, I'm releasing 20 pounds, I'm releasing 30 pounds, I'm moving into my body into a space where I feel free and comfortable, right? Whatever your desire is, and then we wait for the intuitive leads.
What is right?
Right.
Yeah.
Allow Source to guide you to, if it is a workout regimen, what that looks like. Allow Source to guide you into what you should or should not eat, or what your new meal plan would be, right? And we so often do not do that, right? Yes, because it worked for someone, it may work for you. But what I'm more interested in is God's good direction for me in whatever it is that I'm seeking to unfold and demonstrate.
It's so true because, as she said, by the word he or she starts in action. It didn't say run out there and then come back once you fail and then decide, oh, wait, I took too many steps. You don't have to do that. you can achieve so much more in mind, in consciousness, before you physically do anything, that it will almost feel like you're doing nothing when the action takes place.
Exactly.
Because you've already done the mental work. You've done all of that already.
Yep.
And so you'll be easily led, guided to what is the next logical step, what is the diet plan, what is the whatever that's going to support you in manifesting your word.
Right. And so then that's where she's saying this last line of the bottom here of the page. We must make the first move, draw nigh to God. Because here's the thing, right? God is substance, infinite potential, right? And I love, she says, remold our affairs. I talk about this often, thinking about God as substance, Play-Doh, right? So it's like, you must make the first move. Play-Doh can become anything, but you have to put it in that mold. You have to shape it. And again, this is all done in consciousness, right? This is not done through your physical senses.
Now, we're not saying that you will not do anything ever physically.
Right.
We're saying that what you will do physically will be so direct and focused and on point after you've done the mental work.
Right.
Because what we also notice, and I notice this with clients, the mental work is really the harder work. For many people, because they have to confront core beliefs, conditioning, experiences from their past that they would rather forget, but are still running the show.
Yep.
And so all of that action that they've been doing is based on old beliefs anyway. And it can only yield the same results. And so we have to do this internal, what I like to call remembering work. It's not hard. It's just I got to move through those places where I've been conditioned, where I've believed things about myself, the burdens that I carry, all of that, so that I can be free to get the guidance, to hear the guidance.
Okay, right page. I have often been asked just how to make a demonstration. I reply, speak the word and then do not do anything until you get a definite lead. Demand the lead, saying, Infinite Spirit, reveal to me the way. Let me know if there is anything for me to do. Right? The answer will come through intuition or hunch, a chance remark from someone, or a passage in a book, etc., etc. The answers are sometimes quite startling in their exactness. And before we get into the story, I want us to take this in. Right? I was reminded in reading this, I'm reminded of the song we sing, show me clearly, clearly show me, I will wait for thee. Right? And this is the spirit that I wrote that song in. But what I love here is, I think this can support some of you in understanding your relationship to God and all that is in a different way. Right? Because she says, demand the lead. Right? We've come to the place of consciousness where it's like, oh, I can declare and decree and demand, ask, which is really demand, blessings in my life and abundance and a house and a car. And right. And so we're in that spirit. We understand that. Right. But do you also recognize then that you can also demand the definite lead? So that you're not caught out there wandering in darkness and wandering, right, in confusion. Speak the word, declare the thing, and then don't do anything until you get a definite lead. Demand it. Infinite Spirit, reveal to me. And this is where I love also, it's subtle, but it's important. What's the difference between traditional prayer and affirmative prayer, right? It didn't say, oh, and Lord, please just show me, which way to go. Show me, God, which bank I should go to the loan for, and I'll be ever so grateful. That's not what it's. Infinite Spirit, reveal to me the way. Let me know if there is anything for me to do.
Because underneath all of that is the belief that there is a way, and that way will be revealed if I asked. The other way of praying is, oh, I'm not sure that I'm, first of all, worthy of the answer, or that there is an answer. I don't believe in a God that does not have all the answers.
Right.
And so I'd never beg or barter or bargain or beseech God in that way. I just ask and I wait for the answer because I know it has to come. Because if I don't have the answer now, I'm not in alignment with the answer, but I'm open to it.
And this is a demand. Right? And why is it a demand? Remember what we're working with when we read the word law, Lord It's law, right? When we're talking about God, we're talking about law. Law is the action of God in our life, right? So that's why we can say, reveal to me, let me know, right? Not please reveal to me, right? And not, again, a barter or if you do this, I will do that. I will be nice and kind and good, right? And so she gives us a wonderful story. For example, a woman desired a large sum of money. She spoke the words, Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Again, she didn't ask. You say, Lord, you know I need to pay my bills, and if you would just, Infinite Spirit, open the way for my immediate supply. Let all that is mine by divine right now reach me. Now we can see as this woman, she's a student of metaphysics. She also understands, right? Let all that is mine by divine right. Can't take anything away from anyone else. There's more than enough for all of us. Let it now reach me in great avalanches of abundance. I love the visual. I love the feeling tone that brings up. Then she added, give me a definite lead. Let me know if there is anything for me to do.
And you know, the other beautiful thing about this is she said divine right. She didn't give a specific amount. Right? She didn't say, I need it by Thursday at 3:00. That's usually also what we do. We put limits on God. We decide how God has to show up. And if it's not showing up the way that we decided it should, God ain't here. When what God could be doing through our intuition is directing us to the easier path to what we want and more.
Exactly. So this already, just in this teaching and in this example, demonstrates something. And I'm sure many of you that are watching and listening right now can see where in the past or even in something that you're currently seeking to demonstrate, it's like, oh, right, wait, one, I was begging and pleading maybe, right? Asking and hoping and wishing, and I realize now, oh, I don't need to do that. And then also, maybe I didn't realize it was mine by divine right. I needed to add that in, and add something in that creates that feeling tone, great avalanches of abundance. But then also, I've been sitting in this place of, oh, well, I don't know what to do next, or I've been trying to operate based on my own knowledge and intelligence. Instead of saying, give me a definite lead, let me know if there is anything for me to do.
Right, and we're not saying there's anything wrong with your intelligence. We're saying that you can use your intelligence and your intuition together.
Right. This is making use of your intelligence.
Absolutely.
Right? This is praying intelligently. And so the thought came quickly. Give a certain friend who had helped her spiritually $100. Okay? This seems completely unrelated to her prayer. She told her friend, who said, wait and get another lead before giving it. So she waited. I love this, right? I think there's a Stevie Wonder song, the title "Make Sure You're Sure," right? And so I love that, right? Now you can, we could talk about being too hesitant or fearful, right, and not moving forward. But it's okay I think I received a lead. This, came out of nowhere. It seems kind of out of the way. It doesn't seem related. So let me wait, right? So she waited, and that day met a woman who said to her, I gave someone $1 today. It was just as much for me as it would be for you to give someone 100. This was indeed an unmistakable lead, so she knew she was right in giving the $100. It was a gift which proved a great investment, for shortly after that, a large sum of money came to her in a remarkable way.
And there's nothing wrong with getting confirmation just to make sure that the hit you're getting, especially in the beginning when you're just getting used to using your intuitive ability, you got to practice trusting it until you get to the point where it says turn left or stand on your foot and bounce around or whatever. You just know that that's it. It's not your fear. It's not your doubt. It's not your worry. It's none of those things.
Yep.
That it is so clear that this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
So it's okay to ask. God ain't upset if you ask more than once. If you want more than one type of confirmation, it's fine, especially in the beginning when you're starting to trust this.
Yes. And so in the midst of this, then she reminds us, because this story gives us a couple of different principles, right? Giving opens the way for receiving. In order to create activity in finances, one should give. Tithing or giving 1/10 of one's income is an old Jewish custom and is sure to bring increase. Many of the richest men in this country have been tithers, and I have never known it to fail as an investment. right? And so this is absolutely true. I think it was Reverend Sheila McKeithen this week posted something that I loved. She said, giving has a sister and her name is receiving, right? And so often, sometimes, we think about give, but receive is the other side of it. They go hand in hand.
Right. So if you give and give and give and you're not receiving,
right,
something is off in the cycle for you.
Mm-hmm.
Whether
the giving
it's
may be sacrifice.
The giving may be sacrifice. And so I don't want to receive sacrifice. Right? So you got to check in. Are you giving more than you're receiving? And how are you giving? Not just financially giving. How are you giving?
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, you'll hear me say it later today when we get to the giving portion. But this is why the energy in which we give is so important, right? Because if you're giving out of fear and guilt, that's going to be problematic. In this particular story, she was led. It was an intuitive hit, right? And so that's very important. That's very important. And so then, of course, that's why she received the full blessing of giving. She goes on. The 10th part goes forth and returns blessed and multiplied, right? But the gift or tithe must be given with love and cheerfulness, for God loveth a cheerful giver. Bills should be paid cheerfully. All money should be sent forth fearlessly and with a blessing.
Here's a place right here. We got to clear it up. First of all, as we always talk about clearing it up in terms of how you give to your church, but just in terms of how you circulate money. If you're doing it fearfully, it has no other option but to manifest after its own kind. If you're doing it joyfully, right? It's the same idea.
Right.
So it's not just about church giving.
All money should be sent forth fearlessly and with a blessing.
Right. And if you're not there, then don't give it. At least not in that moment, until you can clear up the vibration around it. Now, I'm not saying don't say PY said don't pay my bills. That's not what I said. I'm saying you check in on what that fear is, what's motivating it, where's that's coming from. Do you have old ideas about it?
Yeah.
You have a story about how you didn't pay your bills on time before, but now you want to get right with God, and so you want to do it differently. Any of that stuff, clear all that up, and then do what is necessary.
Right. I believe it's Catherine Ponder that offers the idea of even, writing on the envelopes. So many of us have paperless billing now, but if whatever bills you receive, you can write on them, or you could print out the paperless bills. And write a thank you, right? I encourage you, the affirmation we use during our offerings, right? All the money that I use returns to me multiplied in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. You can affirm that when you're paying your bills. Affirm that when you're shopping, right? I absolutely live in that vibration, right? Of however and whenever I'm circulating, I must do it in joy. If I feel any moment of judgment, you ain't got no business spending this much money on a coat, right? Then I go get myself right. I do not try to fight against that.
Right. I don't try to just buy the coat and I'm going to jump into that. No, my energy has to be right around it.
It's important. It's important. This attitude of mine makes humanity masters of money. It is ours to obey, and our spoken word then opens vast reservoirs of wealth. Humanity ourselves limits our supply by our limited vision. Sometimes the student has a great realization of wealth, but is afraid to act. The vision and action must go hand in hand, as in the case of the man who bought the fur-lined coat. Vision and action. But again, for many of us, our vision is actually clouded in fear, doubt, and worry, and lack, and shame, and guilt.
Or judgment of people that have any of those things.
Right? So a clear vision that's full of love. I was going to say fearless, but I'll just say full of love, right? And then we act. So she gives us another story. A woman came to me asking me to speak the word for a position. So I demanded, Infinite Spirit, open the way for this woman's right position. Never ask for just a position. Ask for the right position. The place already planned in divine mind, as it is the only one that will give satisfaction. That's a whole word right there, right? Right? The right position, the place already planned in divine mind. You want a job? Cool. Right? You want a career? You want a new place of employment? Cool.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that Rolling Stones song, Can't Get No Satisfaction. Well, your mind must not be in alignment with what is in divine right for you if you ain't satisfied. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't say complacent. I said
Right.
you're satisfied. You are in alignment with what is yours by divine right.
So that is the only one that will give satisfaction. I then gave thanks that she had already received and that it would manifest quickly. Very soon she had 3 positions offered her, 2 in New York and 1 in Palm Beach, and she did not know which to choose. I said, here's another way to use this principle. We've all been in this place. Good is just flowing. I've got multiple opportunities now. Which one do I choose? Show me clearly, clearly show me. Ask for a definite lead. And then wait. Because she said then the time was almost up and was still undecided when one day she telephoned. When I woke up this morning, I could smell Palm Beach. She had been there before and knew its balmy fragrance. I replied, well, if you can smell Palm Beach from here, New York, it is certainly your lead. She accepted the position and it proved great success. Often one's lead comes at an unexpected time, right? And that's where the practice of patience is very important, right?
The other beautiful thing about this is the infinite supply of God. She asked for 1 position and then 3, and she got 3. I love that, not just around what we're talking about, but just the idea of infinite supply.
Yeah, that's how God works.
Right? There's no scarcity in the mind of God, and not in me either. I ask for 1, I get 3.
This is a great story. I've thought about this one often, walking the streets of New York. One day, I was walking down the street when I suddenly felt a strong urge to go to a certain bakery a block or 2 away. The reasoning mind resisted, arguing there's nothing there that you want. However, I had learned not to reason. So I went to the bakery, looked at everything, and there was certainly nothing there that I wanted. But coming out, I encountered a woman I had thought of often who was in great need of the help which I could give her. So often, one goes for one thing and finds another, right?
Right. We don't realize that we're all one. We're all connected. And so what leads me to one place might not be for me in the traditional sense, but be me to be used by the universe. Every time something's been given to you, done for you, that has been a lead to bring that person, that experience into your life. So they followed guidance. It's not just your guidance.
Right.
It is guidance for us all.
Right, right. Intuition is a spiritual faculty and does not explain, but simply points the way. So here's an important piece. Like if you can really take this in, what does our intuition do? It points the way. Our intuition does not give us all of the details or explain why it's saying go to the bakery, which don't make no sense, right?
It feels counterintuitive to go, I don't need this.
Right.
But it's really intuitive.
Right. And you think about it, right? She wasn't going to lose anything by going over to the bakery for a couple of minutes and looking, right? But it's also this thing that I always remind myself of is our vantage point.
I was going to say that.
Right. Our vantage point is so limited, even
So
with what
limited.
we know. We don't know, right? We really don't know. And so when we're being guided, I grew up, before we traveled as a family, we would always pray. But one of those words and those lines that I've heard my whole life is, dangers seen and unseen.
Yes.
Right? We don't want to use it in this way to try to, I could avoid something falling on my head. But, right, you just might be told to go down another street or take a different way. You don't know what you're avoiding.
Or you don't know what you're offering either. And that's basically what this is about. What she was able to give. It wasn't just about her acquiring something while she's making this trip to the bakery. It was about her being something.
Right. So know that your intuition may not make logical sense because it doesn't explain, right? It's not that it will and can make sense, right? Once you move through it all, right? But in that moment, it's pointing the way. It's just saying, go left, go right, go to the bakery, give this person $100, right? Don't give this person $100, right? I mean,
Right.
all of these things.
Intuition is so amazing. It,
Right.
it does. It reminds me of when I was leaving my career before moving to New York. And I kept getting this hit, Sing Yolanda, and I hadn't sang in years. And so I began to argue with this voice. I was like, look, if I'm going to sing, I need a voice coach and I need this. I had a whole list of things. I put it aside, knowing in my mind at that point it wasn't going to happen because I didn't want it to happen. I was afraid of it happening. And then I started getting the hits. One morning driving on my way to work, there was this a commercial. The commercial was for full-figure model audition at this hotel. And I was like, well, that's... And then I heard, go to that audition. I was like, I have no desire to be a full-figure model. But I'm starting to know that I got to trust these crazy leads, right?
Seemingly crazy, right?
So I get to this audition. The ballroom is packed. There's only one seat open in the whole place. Again, intuition, sit there. I'm not kidding y'all. I sit down, I'm fussing under my breath. Why am I here? This is stupid. Now, before this, I had made a list of what I wanted my voice coach to be. Like, very detailed. I want her to do this. I'm still fussing. A lady's next to me, and we begin to talk because we're there waiting. She's an actress and a singer, and she was like, I have the most amazing voice coach. And I says, oh, really? Tell me about her. It was everything on my list. But she doesn't take auditions right now because she's full. I'll give your number anyway. Intuition, call now. I get to my car, I call, we talk. She's like, I just had someone cancel. Normally I fill up from my waiting list, but I'm getting the intuitive hit that this position is for you. All of that from going to an audition that I didn't even care about. It didn't make sense to me why I was going. I had no interest. But I've learned throughout my life, follow your intuitive hits.
We go on. A person often receives a lead during a treatment. The idea that comes may seem quite irrelevant, but some of God's leanings are mysterious. In the class one day, I was treating that each individual would receive a definite lead. We speak that word for each and every one of you right now. A woman came to me afterwards and said, while you were treating, I got the hunch to take my furniture out of storage and get an apartment. The woman had come to be treated for health. You see how this happens, right? Yeah. I told her I knew in getting a home of her own, her health would improve. And I added, I believe your trouble, which is a congestion, has come from having things stored away. Congestion of things causes congestion in the body. You have violated the law of use. We talked about that in the previous chapters, right? And your body is paying the penalty, right? Now she uses this word, paying the penalty as though it's retribution. It just means that your body is reflecting what's going on in your consciousness.
That's all. Right.
So I gave thanks that divine order was established in her mind, body, and affairs, right here and right now. People little dream of how their affairs react on the body. There's a mental correspondence for every dis-ease, right? This is where we get into the roots of Louise Hay's work, right? And what really inspired her. A person might receive instantaneous healing through the realization of their body being a perfect idea and divine mind, and therefore whole and perfect. But if they continue their destructive thinking, hoarding, hating, fearing, condemning, the dis-ease will return. I would say may return, right? But this is important to know, and this is part of, I've witnessed it myself, what can happen in terms of instantaneous healing. In that recognition, that knowing, right? So some people, particularly in the context of metaphysics, right? Coming to that profound awareness, the realization that our body is a perfect idea and divine mind, perfect, whole, and complete, and we can be restored, is powerful. And then also the making use, some of you may have heard me tell the story of me as a child when I hurt my ankle, and my father prayed, spoke the word, healed my ankle, and then received a call. My uncle was dealing with the effects of gout, and he asked me to go with him and just tell him the story of what happened with my ankle. And long story short, my uncle was healed. I don't know. I mean, medically, they can't heal gout, but he was healed based on that. And that's what was happening, right? Underneath that, that's what was happening. She goes on, Jesus the Christ knew that all sickness came from, here's a word, sin. What does sin mean? All right. Sin is an error, mistake. In this context, what we're talking about is in our own consciousness. Now, I would go further, and I think this is important to talk about. We have no evidence that the lepers written about in the Bible were lepers because of sin. Right, to make that connection is highly problematic, right? And so she says, admonish the leper after the healing to go and sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon them, right? Now, if we look at this symbolically, we can understand it, right? Because those beautiful souls, those human souls who were treated terribly simply because they had an illness. For me, part of what I see in the story of Jesus and how he dealt with lepers was, first of all, he was dealing with a group of people that nobody else wanted to deal with. They were literally thrown outside of the walls of the city. And it was believed that, if you touched them or you encountered them, you also became unclean and therefore sinful. And so the first thing was Jesus knew there was nothing wrong with them in truth. Right. And so I think, oh my God, it gives me chills. And even as we think about being in Pride Month right now, what I think is the consciousness of the thought that the sin and the sinning no more was about there's nothing wrong with you. And society has told you that there's something wrong with you. Society has told you that, and your culture has told you that this illness means God is upset with you and you can have no relationship with the divine and that you yourself are not divine. That is not true. Right? I do not hold that thought about you. I do not see you that way. Be healed now, right? Go and sin no more, right? Go and hold those thoughts no more, right?
And if sin is missing the mark, if the only thing we're missing the mark is in our thinking, so it could be go and think differently.
Exactly.
Right? Go from this point forward and think differently. Because we, at Course in Miracles, your sinlessness is guaranteed.
Yes.
Your sinlessness is guaranteed. You are not an error in the mind of God. The truth of you is true no matter what.
Exactly.
Go and think differently.
Yes.
Go and live differently.
Exactly. Exactly. So our soul or subconscious mind, again, when she says soul, she's always talking about the subconscious mind, must be washed whiter than snow. That is problem. I don't like hearing that phrase. But I get what she's saying.
It makes my skin
for permanent healing, and the metaphysician is always delving deep for the correspondence. So this is it, right? As we are metaphysicians, right, and as we are studying and making use of these principles, we are always delving deep for the correspondence. We understand that there's something in my thinking, not that there's something wrong with me. Right. And one of the things I think is so important, in as much as we are in this world, right, in as much as we are born into this society and this culture and varying cultures, there's so many things we've taken on as fact, right, that we may not even really be aware of that, oh, right, I held that belief, right? So we delve deep for the correspondence, recognizing that correspondence can be healed. Changed.
Right. And I would prefer, instead of white as snow, which is problematic, that you'll be returned to your innocence. Right? The truth of your being. That we've given a meaning and a hierarchical understanding of white as superior. That's not what this is about. It's about returning to your innocence. White, absolutely. Black, green, purple, yellow, gray.
Right. Exactly.
That's what it's about.
Jesus the Christ said, condemn not, lest ye also be condemned. Judge not, lest ye be judged. Many people have attracted dis-ease and unhappiness through condemnation of others. This is just absolutely true, right? What one condemns in others, they attract to themselves. For example, a friend came to me in anger and distress because her husband had deserted her for another woman. She condemned the other woman and said continually she knew he was a married man and had no right to accept his attentions. I replied, stop condemning the woman, bless her, and be through with the situation. Otherwise, you are attracting the same thing to yourself. So I love that she said, be through with the situation, right? Mm-hmm. It's the idea that unforgiveness, are we saying she wasn't wrong, right? Or either one are wrong? Yes, they were wrong, right? We all know and accept that. But by staying in this condemnation, you're still in the situation, right? Free yourself. Be through with the situation. Otherwise, you are attracting the same thing to yourself.
Why? Because her thoughts are still focused on the same kinds of things, the resentment, the anger. Not that you shouldn't feel those, okay?
Right.
But you move through them.
Exactly. She was deaf to my words, and a year or two later became deeply interested in a married man herself. We pick up a live wire whenever we criticize or condemn and may expect a shock. Okay. Indecision is a stumbling block and many a pathway. In order to overcome it, make the statement repeatedly. I am always under the direct inspiration. I make right decisions quickly or easily, effortlessly, right?
Or harmoniously, or
Right.
whatever. Any of the LYs.
These words impress the subconscious, and soon one finds herself awake and alert, making her right moves without hesitation. Right? If you feel or have had experiences of being indecisive or hesitating in that way, this is a word to speak. She goes on, because this is interesting, and I think the context of this is important, that where she brings this up, because she's talking about indecision, and it is many times because we're indecisive that then we go looking for readings and other things, right? And so she says, I have found it's destructive to look to the psychic plane for guidance, as it is the plane of many minds and not the one mind. As we open our mind to subjectivity, we become a target for destructive forces. The psychic plane is the result of humanity's mortal thought and is on the plane of opposites. We may receive either good or bad messages. I think this is profound because we understand the context of what we've been talking about. What we've been talking about, right, is the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious. The psychic plane is not the superconscious. It can't be, right? It literally can't be. And so what's happening is, this is why many times we can get a reading and it's good. We can go to somebody else and get a completely different reading, right?
On the same day.
On the same day, or right? Because what we're dealing with is the plane of opposites, which means we're still dealing here in the human place, right? Wherever the plane of opposites, that's not where the God mind is. That's not where the superconscious mind is. That's not where the all that is mind is. Not saying that there's anything wrong with readings in and of themselves.
Right.
Right? Because, yeah, you can get some good guidance and you can get a good message. And she'll talk about that in a second. But again, what I think is important is the context in which she brings this up. Indecision.
Right. And that's the thing.
Right.
We're usually trying to get someone to help us make a decision. And many times we already have the answers and we're just not ready to do what it says to do.
Exactly.
Again, nothing wrong with readings. Nothing at all. But if you're relying on it to make a decision, you may get multiple choice points.
Right. And so this is why this chapter is so very important, because if someone were coming to me for a reading, I would point them to the reality that they can receive a definite lead from the mind of God that they are one with, right? And so I'll speak the word for that, right? Let's speak the word for I am always under direct inspiration and make right decisions quickly. Because I can't tell you what to do. And my connection to source isn't any greater, stronger, or, somehow a faster, higher speed connection than yours is. Right? And so I think the only thing we can do, a great teacher points the way. That's all we're here to do.
Right. And I often feel that if someone's giving a reading, and they're doing it in the loving spirit of that, they too know that it's just pointing the way, and that it not necessarily means one thing or the other. I think that's important to understand. We're not discouraging you to get readings, but we are asking you to tap into why you need them.
Yeah.
Because you've been given the same access to divine information and intellect as everyone else. Have some people honed their intuitive ability more? Sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you can't as well.
Right. She goes on, the science of numbers and the reading of horoscopes keep us down on the mental or mortal plane, for they deal only with the karmic path, right? The path of opposites. I know of a man who should have been dead years ago, according to his horoscope, but he is alive and a leader of one of the biggest movements in this country for the uplift of humanity. It takes a very strong mind to neutralize a prophecy of evil or doom. The students should declare, every false prophecy shall come to naught. Every plan my Father in heaven has not planned shall be dissolved and dissipated. The divine idea now comes to pass. However, if any good messages have ever been given one of coming happiness or wealth, harbor and expect it, and it will manifest sooner or later through the law of expectancy. Humanity's will should be used to back the universal will. I will that the will of God be done. And so this is powerful, again, because also what I've seen, right? Sometimes folks get a good reading, but because of all of the fear, doubt, and worry that's in your consciousness, you still don't believe that lover's going to come, right? You still don't believe that $2,000 is going to come. Right? And at the same time, and this piece where she's talking about neutralizing prophecies of evil, or in this case, the horoscope said the man should have died. It reminds me of You Are the Placebo and the study that we've done in the Healthy Mind, Healthy Body class, because what we know to be true is that you have to believe and accept that thing in order for it to work on you. Right.
So if anything, you need to tap into your level of expectancy. What do I really expect to happen? And be completely honest. Because you might say one thing out your mouth, but your conditioning and core beliefs say another.
Right. Yeah.
And just like PG just said, you could have the best horoscope, the best readings, and then you're like, well, why didn't it happen for me? And you got to get clear. What are you expecting to happen? And it's no judgment. It's just for clarity, so that you can start to move in a different direction, so you can go and sin no more, quote unquote. Right? Oh, I thought I expected good, but now I realize I really don't. I also have compassion because I know where that conditioning came from to not expect the good. And so I'm going to do my mental work to change my expectation, my level of expectancy.
Yep.
I'm going to start to elevate my level of expectancy. Right?
I love this affirmation. I will that the will of God be done in my life right here and right now, in every area of my life. With ease and effortlessness. It is God's will to give every human every righteous desire of their heart, and humanity's will should be used to hold the perfect vision without wavering, right? And so this is where we put our effort, right? This is where we put our strength. This is where we're pushing, and that's where we do our work, right? To hold the perfect vision without wavering. That's where you effort.
Right. That's, of course, calls it mental vigilance.
Yes.
I have this mental vigilance over the truth of me, my life, my connection to God. And so that I'm no longer living conditionally on the outside either.
Yep.
I know that my will and God's will are one. And if I don't, I get about the work of removing that old belief and expectancy.
Yes. The prodigal son said, I will arise and go to my father. It is indeed often an effort of the will to leave the husk and swine of mortal thinking. It is so much easier for the average person.
Analogies. Go ahead.
It is so much easier for the average person to have fear than faith. So faith is an effort of will. We've heard her say this before. it reminds me of an essay I was reading this week, and then the sister was writing about this idea of many times it is so much easier to just still accept the status quo, right? To still live in a place of shame and guilt and unworthiness, rather than the effort that it takes, if that's been your reality for so long, to now begin to believe something new about yourself. And that's faith, because you don't see it yet. You're not experiencing it yet. You're not feeling it yet, right? So faith is an effort of the will. As humanity becomes spiritually awakened, we recognize that any external inharmony is the correspondence of mental inharmony, right? This is what it means to be master metaphysicians, right? That we know this, and then we do the necessary work. It's like, oh, external harmony. Oh, let me. It might be forgiveness work I need to do. It could be any number of things, but I know I need to examine what's going on in my consciousness.
Right, and it's interesting, the word effort, because if who you want to be is over here, you got to move over towards it. And sometimes when we hear the word effort around this mental activity, we think it has to be hard, arduous labor. But you do have to point yourself in the direction of it, right, and move step by step towards it. It's not effort like you're going to be pushing a boulder. It might feel that way sometimes. I've worked with clients where it feels like this thought ain't going to ever go away. This belief ain't going. It's not true. Yeah. But it does take you moving in the direction of it. And it is unfamiliar and uncomfortable. It's so much easier to stay where you were because you know what's going to happen. Your level of expectancy is so low. You don't want to be, quote unquote, disappointed by trying again. But it's really your level of expectancy. What do you believe, really?
Yep.
And so I've got to take the necessary steps to point myself in the direction of the unknown, because the unknown is where I want to go. What I've known has been the problem.
Yep. And so if we stumble or fall, we may know we are stumbling or falling in consciousness. One day a student was walking along the street condemning someone in her thoughts. I know this was, y'all ain't never done it.
Yeah, I ain't never done this.
I've done this, so.
I'm just kidding.
Right? Y'all may have never done this. Condemning someone in her thoughts, she was saying mentally, that woman is the most disagreeable woman on earth, when suddenly 3 Boy Scouts rushed around the corner and almost knocked her over. She did not condemn the Boy Scouts, but immediately called on the law of forgiveness and saluted the divinity in the woman. Wisdom's ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. I don't know why I didn't highlight that, because that's powerful right there. I think
that's a blessing, right? To give to somebody that, especially that you quote unquote think is disagreeable.
Yeah.
I'll say it stronger. It gets on your damn nerves.
Okay. Wisdom's ways are ways of pleasantness.
Yes.
And all her paths are peace.
Because as you give this blessing out, it has to come back to you. You're not only blessing her, you're blessing your mind with paths of peace.
Yeah. When one has made their demands upon the universal, we must be ready for surprises. Everything may seem to be going wrong when in reality it is going right. For example, a woman was told that there was no loss in divine mind. Therefore, she could not lose anything which belonged to her. Anything lost would be returned, or she would receive its equivalent.
Yeah, she keeps sharing this idea in different chapters.
Several years previously, she had lost $2,000. She had loaned the money to a relative during her lifetime, but the relative had died, leaving no mention of it in her will. The woman was resentful and angry. And as she had no written statement of the transaction, she never received the money, so she determined to deny the loss and collect the $2,000 from the Bank of the Universal. She had to begin by forgiving the woman, as resentment and unforgiveness closes the door of this wonderful, wonderful bank. Again, I'm going to stop and say it. It must be highlighted. What was the problem? The problem is $2,000 that she's not going to get back because that relative has transitioned. What in the world does it seem, and why would it seem necessary to do forgiveness work when I need $2,000, right? Well, of course, my life has proven to me over and over and over and over and over and over again that the correspondence is there. But it's important to stop and highlight this. Important to stop and highlight this. She had to begin by forgiving the woman. As resentment and unforgiveness, what do? Close the doors of this wonderful bank, right? And so then that would mean that the universe isn't closed to you. It would mean that the resentment that you're choosing to hold
is blocking you from your intuition and your ability to even access that bank.
Right, right. And so this is never a issue of, God has turned God's eyes from you, or God ain't looking at you, or doesn't care about you, or stopped listening to you, or stopped answering your prayers, right? You have mucked up the connection with forgiveness and resentment, right? I've been there. I've lived there. Right.
And the other piece of this, once you realize that that's what you're doing, part of the forgiveness work is also for yourself. Right? That's the other piece. It's, this is what I was doing. Let me forgive myself and set myself free as I'm freeing her to her paths of peace.
Absolutely. She made this statement, I deny loss. There is no loss in divine mind. Therefore, I cannot lose the $2,000, which belongs to me by divine right. As one door shuts, another door opens. She was living in an apartment house which was for sale, and in the lease was a clause stating that if the house was sold, the tenants would be required to move out within 90 days. Suddenly, the landlord broke the leases and raised the rent. Again, injustice was on her pathway, but this time she was undisturbed. She blessed the landlord and said, as the rent has been raised, it means that I'll be much richer, for God is my supply. There's another just teaching. Every time MTA has raised the rates, I affirm this very thing, right? And my supply increases just as MTA increases their rates. There is another way to look at it. Now, I'm not saying that I know that
they're right or wrong.
They're right or wrong, right? Right. And I know that there are people that are affected in different ways. But as a metaphysician, this is how I respond, right? To something like MTA rates raising. New leases were made out for the advance rent, but by some divine mistake, the 90 days clause had been forgotten. Soon after, the landlord had an opportunity to sell the house. On account of the mistake in the new leases, the tenants held possession for another year. The agent offered each tenant $200 if they would vacate. Several families moved, 3 remained, including the woman. A month or two passed and the agent appeared again. This time he said to the woman, will you break your lease for the sum of $1,500? It flashed upon her. Here comes the $2,000. She remembered having said to friends in the house, we will all act together if anything more is said about leaving. So her lead was to consult her friends. You hear that? And it wasn't, say yes right away, right? She still listened to her intuition to consult her friends. These friends said, well, if they have offered you $1,500, they will certainly give $2,000. So she received a check for $2,000 for giving up the apartment. It was certainly a remarkable working of the law, and the apparent injustice was merely opening the way for her demonstration.
I love that. I love that you got to look at situations that appear to be inharmonious and know that there's harmony here. There's an answer here, and wait on the answer, right? And as PG said, if something is increased, rent, MTA, that must mean by divine right, I will have the money to be able to meet or exceed this increase.
And I do want to say, it's funny, she uses the word injustice to talk about this woman's situation, and I'm like, sister. Right. So the apparent injustice was merely opening the way for her demonstration. Now, what I do believe to be true, and specifically because when I see the word injustice, it takes me to, mass issues. Right. And I do believe, right, just as we can talk about, a year later, and yesterday would have been Breonna Taylor's 28th birthday. The injustice absolutely is an opening for a grand demonstration in this country of change, right? And so just as we talk about on the individual level about a change in consciousness, if there's external inharmony, there must be internal inharmony. It's the same thing, right? The external inharmony of the murder of George Floyd and the murder of Breonna Taylor is telling us that there's internal inharmony in the consciousness of the United States of America. And every injustice is always an opening for a demonstration of love, healing, peace, truth, reconciliation, and change. But collectively, we ain't done that yet.
We haven't.
Right? The principle always applies, but this is why it's so important that you learn and understand the principle in your individual life, because then you can see and understand what's happening on the macro. So often we hear and learn these principles and we immediately want to go to the macro before we've applied them to the micro situations of our very own lives.
Right.
So yes, in her life, in her world, this was an injustice, right? It was a challenging situation. Again, injustice is a strong word.
But we often feel like that there are certain things, not on a major level, are injustices to us personally. And it's important that we understand what's really happening here. Clear up your own personal injustices, and then you will understand the possibility of those things being eliminated on the macro level.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It proved that there is no loss, and when humanity takes their spiritual stand, we collect all that is ours from this great reservoir of good. I will restore to you the years the locusts have eaten. The locusts are the doubts, fears, resentment, and regrets of mortal thinking. These adverse thoughts alone rob us, for no man gives to himself but himself, and no man takes from himself but himself. Humanity is here to prove God and to bear witness to the truth. And we can only prove God by bringing plenty out of lack and justice out of injustice. The Lord have mercy.
Man is here to prove God. Not the other way around. We ain't here to prove, the other way around. We're here to be that manifestation of what was already divine. Walk around like it. Speak like it. Love like it. Create like it.
And she quotes Malachi, "Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it." Right? And so prove, in other words, just demonstrate, right? Demonstrate the good, the reservoir of good that exists. And how do we do that, right? By bringing plenty out of lack and justice out of injustice. So this is a good chapter. This is a wonderful chapter. We move on to the next chapter next week, Perfect Self-Expression, or the Divine Design. Definitely read that chapter if you have the need and want to skip ahead. As we always say, go back. Whatever that thing is, it's like, I need more. That means you ain't get all of what needed to be gotten, right? And I say that because look at all this time that we spent just on this one chapter, and we still, could delve deeper, right? We could have stayed with this one chapter for probably 2 hours, right? So when you feel that sense of wanting more, and this is a way that we just have to kind of fight our nature, consumer, right? Consumer nature. Go back, right? Go back.
When you feel the need to go forward, go deeper.
Perfect. That's the word right there. So in this moment, it is time for giving. And the information is here on your screen. Give what feels good. You can go to our website, celebrationsc.org/give, or just scroll down to the giving portion of the page, or you can text to give, 347-744-9500. Text to give, there's a $10 minimum. Just text your dollar amount. We appreciate all of your gifts. It's what continues to allow CFC to move forward, to bring the stream to you, and all of the wonderful things that we do. And we are grateful. Remember, we've talked about giving today. It is the consciousness behind our giving that then brings the full, complete blessing of giving and receiving, right? So when we give from a consciousness of what feels good, give from a consciousness of recognizing that we're giving from the reservoir of good, then we can affirm with confidence, all the money that I use
All the money that I use
returns to me multiplied
returns to me multiplied
in a never-ending cycle
in a never-ending cycle
of increase
and
enjoyment.
enjoyment.
And so with that, again, we take a joyous offering. We love and appreciate you.
Yes,
we
we do.
hope that you enjoy the remainder of your Sunday. It is wonderfully warm here in New York, so I hope you enjoy the sunshine in whatever way feels good for you. And we look forward to seeing you again next Sunday or connecting with you on Wednesday on the prayer call at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be well, stay well, love yourself, love others, and just have an amazing week.
Yes.
All right?
We love you all.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.